Early in the morning, Seth drags himself out of bed to face yet another dull, lonely day. He has no friends, no family, just the dogs at the animal control center where he works. After making sure they're all fed and cared for, he slips into a cage with Lexi and holds her close, soaking up the only affection he ever gets. One evening, on his ride home, Seth is caught off guard when he spots Holly on the bus. He walks up to say hello, but she clearly doesn't recognize him. Trying to jog her memory, he tells her they went to high school together. They never actually hung out. He was a year ahead, but he remembers her well. After all, she was one of the popular ones. He sees Holly writing in her notebook and calls her a writer. Holly says she's actually a waitress and just writes for fun. Seth makes a bad joke, and the moment turns awkward. Holly gets off the bus, and Seth tries asking her out, but she doesn't hear him. That night, Seth looks her up on social media and is happy to see she has a dog. The next day, he asks his coworker Nate for advice on talking to girls. Nate tells him to be confident and funny. Later, Seth is heartbroken when Lexi, a dog at the shelter, has to be put down. He takes her out of her cage, gently places her on the table, and talks sweetly to her. When the doctor says he can adopt her, Seth says his apartment doesn't allow pets and he can't afford to move. After Lexi gets the injection, Seth carries her body to the crematory. While removing her profile card from the cage, he hears a sound from the restricted area. He checks it out, but finds nothing. After work, he keeps stalking Holly online and takes notes about her life. He studies all her photos and figures out where she works. The next day, he goes to the diner where she works. She doesn't remember him, so he introduces himself again. He compliments her hair, but she stays professional and just brings his food. Seth then asks her out, but Holly says she has a boyfriend. He quickly replies, "No, you don't," which freaks her out. Holly leaves the bill and walks away. That night, on her way home, she feels like someone is following her, and she's right. Seth is outside her house, hiding in the bushes. Holly tells her roommate Claire, but Claire thinks she's just being paranoid. Holly then gets a call from her drunk ex-boyfriend, Eric. After hanging up, Claire tells her to forgive Eric because being alone is worse. Holly refuses and grabs a drink instead. The next morning, Holly finds a large bouquet with a card that just says, "Be mine." After work, she visits Eric at his bar to ask him not to send flowers, but he says it wasn't him. He tries to win her back, but Holly reminds him he cheated. Seth then walks into the bar and watches from a distance. When Holly steps outside to smoke and write, Seth follows and tries to talk. She still doesn't recognize him. Seth says he sent the flowers, and Holly suddenly remembers who he is, realizing he's been following her. Seth insists he's not crazy and just wants to talk, claiming he's liked her since school. Holly tries to leave, but Seth blocks her path. She panics, pushes him away, and rushes back inside. Eric sees Seth follow her and, after hearing what happened, jumps the counter and punches him. Seth lies on the floor laughing with blood on his face. Eric kicks him again until Holly stops him. Eric throws Seth out of the bar, warning him never to come back. As Seth rolls on the ground, he notices Holly dropped her notebook. Later at home, he cleans up his wounds and starts reading it. It's Holly's personal journal, full of her raw thoughts and anger. Seth stays up late, feeling strangely close to her. The next day at work, Seth sneaks into the restricted area and finds a floor hatch. Below, he discovers an old room still hooked to the main power. That gives him an idea. Over the next few days, he orders supplies, watches tutorials, and builds a cage down there. He keeps reading Holly's journal and even steals medicine from the shelter. At home, he tests the sedative on himself and knocks out cold. No side effects. One night, Holly senses someone following her on her way home. She stops and looks around, but Seth is already hiding. When it happens again, she sprays pepper spray, but hits a homeless man by mistake and runs off. Seth watches silently, then follows the screaming man. Later that night, Seth climbs a wall and sneaks into Holly's apartment through the window. She's in the bathroom taking her meds and hears a noise. She checks the living room, finds the window open, and shuts it. As she heads to bed, Seth jumps on her and injects the sedative. Holly fights for a moment, then passes out. Seth puts her in a large box and takes her to the shelter. When Nate sees him, Seth lies and says their boss asked him to handle a late-night delivery. Nate believes him and just has him sign in. As Holly begins to wake up and makes a sound, Seth coughs to hide the noise. Holly makes another noise, and Nate hears it, but assumes it's just the AC. After dropping her off, Seth leaves. Holly wakes up inside the cage, panics, and accidentally rips off a nail trying to open it. She screams for help, but only the dogs hear her. Nate just thinks they're being noisy. In the morning, Seth brings her a bedpan and speaks gently, but Holly lashes out. Seth says she's lost her food for the day and leaves as she screams. Once alone, she begins filing the lock chain on the bars. The next day, Seth finally gives her food and water. Holly begs him not to leave, but he says they need boundaries to build a relationship, then walks away. That night, she hallucinates Claire, who warns her about Seth. Holly yells at the vision to shut up. While using the bedpan, a rat crawls up to her. She panics and kicks it to death. The next day, Seth cleans the mess. Holly nervously asks if he'll take advantage of her. He says no. But when she asks if he'll kill her, he replies, "I hope not," which terrifies her. Seth explains he's trying to save her, not hurt her. He says he felt invisible until he met her and believed she truly saw him. But now he thinks that version of her was fake, a mask she shows the world. He asks who the real Holly is, because if there's no real her to save, she'll never leave. Holly insults him, and Seth walks out. As he leaves the restricted area, Nate catches him and reminds him he shouldn't be down there. Nate tells Seth to go clean while he checks the door, but it's locked. That night, the Claire hallucination asks Holly what she plans to do. Holly says she'll wait. The next morning, Seth shows Holly her journal. He says he feels sorry for her because her writing about love is so dark. Holly snaps back, saying a stalker like him doesn't know love either. Seth brings up Claire, revealing he heard Holly talking to her in two voices. He asks if Claire is in the room. Holly says no, but says she sees her behind him. She admits Claire isn't real, but says Seth's question wasn't just about this room. She's been seeing Claire at home too. As Seth reads more of the journal, the truth comes out. Claire was real. She lived with Holly back when Holly got engaged to Eric. But Claire had an affair with him, which Holly discovered through his emails. One day, Holly confronted Claire during a car ride. Claire apologized, saying it meant nothing. Furious, Holly sped through traffic, ranting, until they crashed. Both survived, bleeding. When Holly heard Claire speak, she pulled a shard from her stomach and stabbed Claire in the eye. The police ruled it an accident. Now, in the present, Holly says she's a fiction writer. Seth says that's why he had to be sure before calling the cops, because he's been following her for days. He's learned that ever since Claire's death, Holly has been murdering random people in brutal ways. It was Holly who set the homeless man on fire. Seth believes she writes in the journal because she secretly wants to be caught and punished for Claire's death. But he says he's not here to punish, he wants to save her. Holly agrees, saying she wants saving, and Seth leaves. As soon as he's gone, Claire's hallucination claps, and Holly admits she lied to give Seth hope. During his next visit, Seth brings water and a cloth. He can't stop staring at her. They talk about her murders. Holly claims she enjoys it, but Seth doesn't buy it. He thinks it's all guilt and trauma. Holly then tells a story about sharks smashing into glass in aquariums and imitates them, banging around until he asks her to stop. She mocks him, saying if she dies, the cops will blame him. Seth, shaken, leaves. Later, Seth's boss scolds him for slacking off. She won't fire him yet, but warns that one more mistake and he's out. On his next visit, he gives Holly only 2 chocolate bars and says she must learn she's not in control. If she keeps misbehaving, she won't eat. Holly tries manipulating him, talking about a dream where they live happily on a beach. Seth softens and agrees to bring her more food. While grabbing snacks, Seth is spotted again by Nate, who grows suspicious. This time, the door isn't locked. Nate goes through the hatch and is shocked to find Holly trapped in a cage. She begs for help, and he starts breaking the lock. Just then, Seth returns. Holly silently signals him to attack. As Nate focuses on the lock, Seth sneaks up and hits him in the head. Nate pushes Seth against the wall, but Seth stabs him several times and runs. As Nate chases, Holly trips him and gently urges Seth to finish the job. Seth smashes Nate's head with a cinder block while Holly watches, clearly enjoying it. Afterward, Seth breaks down. Holly calms him and tells him how to hide the body. Using the doctor's tools, Seth removes Nate's teeth, nails, and fingerprints. Then he cuts up the body, feeds it to the dogs, and burns the rest. After showering, he calls his boss and lies, saying Nate left to run an errand and never came back. Later, he dumps Nate's teeth into a river. Back at the shelter, Seth cleans up the blood while Holly rambles. She hints that Seth is drawn to her darkness. She grabs his hand and tries to make him touch her, but he pulls away. Returning to the office, Seth finds a detective going through Nate's stuff. The detective questions him, spotting holes in his story, and is especially suspicious that Seth refers to Nate in the past tense. The next day, with the detective still around, Seth avoids drawing attention. He brings food to Holly, but she stays silent. After days of begging, she finally speaks and demands Seth's finger to prove his love. He refuses at first, but Holly gives another emotional speech about being different and how only he understands her. Seth leaves, panics in the bathroom, then finally returns. Holly promises to behave if he gives her what she asked. In pain, Seth sits by the cage and cuts off his finger. But instead of taking it, Holly grabs the knife and threatens to end her life if he doesn't set her free. Seth unlocks the cage. Holly steps out, weak and shaking. She kisses him, says she loves him, then slashes his neck. As he bleeds, the Claire hallucination appears, pointing toward the open door. Later, Holly is back with Eric, dating him again. Holly now has a book deal to publish her journal as a fiction novel. When Eric's phone rings, she sees a message and realizes he's cheating again. But instead of reacting, she calmly hands the phone back without a word. Later, she visits an abandoned warehouse, where Seth is locked in a cage. She now mutilates him whenever she feels the urge to kill, which keeps her from hurting others. In her mind, that means Seth really did save her.